Hello, and welcome to today's lesson, which will be on ratios. So first of all, what is a ratio? Well, you may well have already seen ratios. They are things such as 1 to 3, 2 to 5, 4 to 16, etc. And what ratios express is basically the size of one quantity compared to other quantities. So if for now we just look at 1 to 3, on its own, there's not much information. But if I say I knew this was, say, the ratio of boys to girls in a maths class, then 1 to 3 means for every one boy, there are 3 girls. Now, if we had, say, 4 boys in the maths class, we could use this, knowing the ratio that was 1 boy for every 3 girls, we could take this information and we could work out how many girls there are in the class. And how do we do this? Well, this uses equivalent ratios. So we know what equivalent fractions are. For example, something like 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4, and we get that because we just multiply the top and bottom by exactly the same thing. And that works. That's an equivalent fraction. We can do exactly the same with an equivalent ratio. So if we have 1 to 3 and we multiply both sides of the colon by 2, we get 2 to 6. And 2 to 6 is exactly the same ratio as 1 to 3. As such, we often deal with ratios in their simplest form. So I had 4 to 16 earlier. That is not in its simplest form because we can factor a 4 out of each side of the ratio, and the simplest form of that ratio is 1 to 4. Works exactly the same way as fractions. But it's worth noting these are not fractions. 1 to 3 very much does not equal a third. And we'll see why later. So, using equivalent ratios, we have a ratio of 1 boy to 3 girls. So I'll write that as B to G, and we know we have 4 boys. How many girls in this maths class? Well, what we want to do, and I've given a clue here by writing the colon out, is we want to find the equivalent ratio, which instead of having 1 boy, has 4 boys. So how do we get from 1 to 4? Well, nice easy question, we multiply by 4. Mind, this has to be multiplication. This is multiplication, not adding, because we're dealing with the size of numbers. So there we know that we have to multiply by 4 to get from 1 to 4. So we have to do exactly the same on the other side, multiply by 4. Oh, my pen's being a bit slow today. And 3 times 4 is 12. So we find that 4 to 12 is an equivalent ratio, and therefore if there are 4 boys in the maths class, there are 12 girls. It is worth noting that ratios are not limited to 2 quantities. So 1 to 3 only has 2 elements. We could have like 1 to 2 to 5. And what that means is if we had 3 elements, so let's say year 9s to year 10s to year 11s in the school, means for every 1 year 9 we have 2 year 10s, and for every 1 year 9 we have 5 year 11s, say. Again, simplest form works exactly the same way as does equivalent ratios. So if we had something like 3 to 9 to 21, we can factor the 3 out to get 1 to 3 to 7. So, now we know what ratios are, let's have a quick look at a word problem. So here we go. A recipe for pancakes requires 3 pints of milk for every 1 egg. If I use 4 eggs, how much milk do I need? So we'll start, as we should always start with word problems, highlighting the important information. So we've got 3 pints of milk for every 1 egg. We're using 4 eggs and we're being asked how much milk. So, how do we start? Well, we've told 3 pints of milk for every 1 egg means that milk to egg is a 3 to 1 ratio. How many eggs are we using? 4. What do we do to get from 1 to 4? Times by 4. So we're going to do 3 times 4. We find that it's 12 to 4, so we need 12 pints of milk. It's important have the units there, just to be safe. So part B, have a go yourself this time. If I use 18 pints of milk, how many eggs do I need? Do pause the video if you need a bit more time. But okay, so important information, 18 pints of milk, how many eggs? So we know the ratio from the previous part. So we have 3 to 1, except this time it's not 3 to 1, it's 18 to our mystery number. To get from 3 to 18, it's times 6. So we need to do 1 times 6, which gets us, surprisingly, 6. And all of a sudden, we know that we need 6 eggs, so half a dozen eggs. Okay, and then there's a lovely part C for you to have a go at as well. This is slightly different, but have a go, see if you can work out what's going on, and I will give you the answers in a minute. Do pause if you want a bit more time. But okay, so we have 32 pints of milk and 12 eggs. And if our ratio of 3 to 1 makes 6 pancakes, which is the most pancakes we can make. So we know 32 pints of milk, 12 eggs. So we know the normal ratio is 3 to 1. So let's start with the eggs. If we have 12 eggs, how much milk would we need to make pancakes from that? Well, that's times 12, so we need to do times 12 the other side. 3 times 12 is 36. So we need 36 pints of milk to use all 12 eggs. But we don't have 36 pints of milk, we only have 32. So how do we deal with that? If I don't break my surface. So, well, if we had 32 pints of milk, there we go. Still a 3 to 1 ratio, but instead we've got 32. Now 32 is not a nice whole number, and sometimes we might just have to deal with that. But if you stop and think, realistically, we are not going to be using thirds of an egg. So we'll take this down to the the largest nice whole number, which is 30. Obviously times 10, so we do times 10 there, and we find that we use 10 eggs. So how many pancakes does that make? Well, we know that our normal ratio of 3 pints of milk to 1 egg makes 6 pancakes. So we've got 3 pints of milk means 1 egg means 6 pancakes. We've got a triple ratio here. So we can just simply do the same. So we know that's going to 30 to 10 to what? Well, we know 3 times 10 is 30 and 1 times 10 is 10, so we just do 6 times 10. And we find we can make 60 pancakes, which is quite a lot. You're probably feeding your extended family with that. Now, there is one other important thing that we can do with ratios, which is we can split a quantity by a certain ratio. So if I had, we'll use our 1 to 3 ratio again. Right. If I wanted to split 60 pounds in a 1 to 3 ratio, let's say between two people, between Alice and Bob, in a 1 to 3 ratio, how do we do it? Well, we know that the total has to be 60 pounds. So we've got 1 times some number plus 3 times some number has to equal 60 pounds. This means is that 4 times some number equals 60 pounds. Therefore our sum, that's a 2, our sum number is going to equal 60 over 4 or 15. It's cool. So we know that some number, which incidentally is our multiplier, is 15. So what we know now, oh, I've gone too far, if I rub some of this off quickly, is that our 1 to 3 is going to be times 15. And there's a nice easy way we can get that 15. Obviously it won't always be 15, but whatever that number is, there's a nice easy way. If we have a ratio A to B, and we want to divide C by that, we just do C over A plus B. So here C is 60, A is 1, B is 3, so it's just 60 over 1 plus 3, which is 60 over 4. And that works no matter how many ratios. So if it was A to B to C to D, we just add all of those up. So it would be our third number, E over A plus B plus C plus D. Nice and simple, so just add up all of the numbers in your ratio, then divide the number you are dividing by that sum. So back to this question. So we've got Alice to Bob in a ratio of 1 to 3. We know that we're multiplying by 15. So we'll find that Alice gets £15 to Bob's 45. And if you check, £15 plus £45 is the £60 that we were splitting in the first place. So here we go. Final question for you to try. Do pause the video if you want more time. But Granny Smith has £4,200, which she gives to her 3 grandchildren, Ada, Bertram and Charles, in the ratio 4 to 2 to 1. How much does each grandchild get? So once you've worked that out, important information, £4,200, £4,200. The ratio is 4 to 2 to 1. And we want to know how much each grandchild gets. So that's how we go. So, first things first, the ratio is 4 to 2 to 1. And the overall total has to be £4,200. Now, as I said before, to work out what our multiplier is, we do 4,200 divided by the sum of these 3 numbers, which is 4,200 divided by 7. 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7, which comes out as £600. So we now do 4 to 2 to 1, all of that times £600. Doing it in shorthand to save time. So this comes out as, obviously the 1 is going to be to £600. The 2 is 1,200. And the 4 comes out as £2,400. If you want to check, 2,400 plus 1,200 is 3,600, plus another 600 is 4,200. We're back to our original total. Hey presto, maths works. So that's all for my video today, in case you were wondering. I assume you weren't, but Ada, Bertram and Charles are all famous mathematicians. If you can tell me who they all are, feel free to put that in the comments. Otherwise, my next lesson, which is probably much more interesting to you, will be on degrees of accuracy and upper and lower bounds. Until then, keep doing maths.